listening to
Split the Defense.
Leafs Postgame Edition.
Split the Defense.
Is presented by the Forest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas. Alongside co-host Craig Pearce and producer Ted Evans, here's your host, Jordan Webster.
Hey, what up, boys? What up, listener? Welcome to Split the Defense Hockey Podcast, Leafs post-game reaction. I'm Webby alongside CP, producer Ted. We are going to chat about the Leafs post-game for the Sharks that just happened. Great game, but before that happens, could you please take a second and drop a like on this episode, subscribe to our YouTube, rate it 5 stars on whatever podcasting platform you may be consuming from. Big night for a bunch of Leafs. It was a milestone night, boys. Everybody got a little bit of something, and everybody hit a goal. It started out with Robertson and scratch for the second straight game, so we had Holmberg in. And then the Leafs get their second 5-on-3 of the season because Granlund made a hand pass off the faceoff, which was dumb but awesome because the Leafs are not going to get a 5-on-3 unless it's completely obvious that something bad happened when they're on a power play. That's just statistics. So Marner opens the scoring on that ensuing 5-on-3 power play, and he gets his 15th of the season. At the end of that period, the Maple Leafs were all over the Sharks in the period. At the end of the period, it was 18-3. In shots, boys. 18-3.
Yeah.
Attempts were 38-10. Scoring chances, 19-4. High danger chances, 6-0. Second period. Yarncroke squeaks one past Blackwood for his 10th of the season. Another milestone. Nylander walks in the zone, bar and in, and it's 3-0, and that's Nylander's 20th of the year. So then Michael Granlund, trying to give the Sharks a little bit of hope near the end of the game. They actually made a kind of a slick play. They had, I think it was Duclair, was digging for it behind. He made a pass out over across to Granlund, and Granlund tapped it in. Jones really had no chance. It was a great play.
He
but
was expecting a shot for sure.
For sure. And it was a hopeless attempt after that because even though I thought they might have had a little life after that, it was over. Nylander comes back in. He says, oh, yeah, that little pretty play, hold my beer. Makes a beauty play after JT wins a puck battle. Pretty passing play, and Nylander buries it from behind the net by banking one off Blackwood's pad. 4-1, and that's how it ends. Awesome game. Great game for the Leafs. Milestones all around. Nylander's got 20 and 21 now. My initial reactions to the game are the Sharks are bad. They're not a good team. But who taught the Leafs to play against bad teams?
Yeah, really.
When did that change? So I'm just trying to figure that out. I'm not against it. I'm happy about it. But at the same time, surprised, you know? Like this seems one of those nights it's a scheduled loss. But it was nice to see them show up. Hockey night in Canada and do what they're supposed to do. So first thing I want to talk about is Austin Matthews not only leads the NHL in goals, he also leads the NHL in posts and crossbars hit. He hit another one tonight with 11.
Wow.
Could you imagine if 50% of those went his way? He'd have like 6 more goals, 5.5 more goals, or 6 more goals right now. He'd have 36 goals in 30 games. Like, that much. Yeah. He's that far away from being one of the greatest ever, right? So, like, it's just amazing.
It's game of inches.
Yeah, I'd say he's still one of the greatest ever, even though he might miss those few, because leading the league just looks like an animal. He looked like, at the beginning of the game, I thought he was going to hunt for another, 1 or 2 goal game. Didn't end up that way. It ended up being kind of the game of, William Nylander, but he's looked good. I mean, a lot of, I think, shooters hit a lot of posts. It's kind of the name of the game, right?
Nobody as many as Austin Matthews, though.
Yeah, it's fair enough, yeah. But, he might also be leading the league in shots at this point, too. So, but yeah, we've loved everything, but he's just looked like a different animal recently, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Doesn't score tonight, but he definitely had a few opportunities. Hits another crossbar tonight, and I thought he was going to go and score 31 there. You know who did score tonight was William Nylander, and reported during the break
Yeah.
is, I think, the biggest story for us to talk about. So this is David Alter tweet, just for text purposes, but it was Elliot Friedman who reported it over the break. It says William Nylander is closing on an 8-year deal that would be around $92 million, with the deal possibly being done by Monday.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's per Frege.
So that's 11.5, right?
An approximate value of an $11.5 million per year. Is that too high, too low, just right? A little context here. William Nylander, after tonight, is on pace for 47-goal, 120-point year in his contract year. 11.5 is. Was I right, or you just want to tell me I'm right?
I mean, it seems like you're gonna be right. Is it the number that it should be? Is probably not. They're paying him a lot on this season, but would I not want to sign that contract? Like, no way. Like, I think that if it's 11.5 today, I feel like you can go ahead and do it. I've always been scared about an 8-year deal with Willie because I never want him to get, like, it seems like the closer he gets to the end of a contract, the better he plays, right? And so, but maybe that's just the scenario we're in, and it's not actually who he is. It's just happens to look that way. But I guess, like, the problem all just started with way back when they gave Marner 11. And so, like, at this point, you have to give him more than Marner. And so, I mean, it's a matter of like $100,000 here or there. I mean, a few $100,000. So I'd be willing to do it if I was Brad Shelley. I mean, you're going to lock him in today. I would rather lock him up than Marner today at this point. So if you're going to pick your 2 stars to go with, Matthews and Nylander seem like pretty good ones.
Yeah. And I mean, so this was reported before Willie started gotten into business, right? He scored all his goals. And you see Dangle's tweets on out there. He's saying, like, sign the contract before the game ends. There's a salary cap, people. Like,
yeah. The thing is, this,
you can only pay him so much.
Yeah, it's really going to hurt next year. That's the problem, is because you still, like, you have Marner on 11 million, you got JT on 11 million. So for 1 year, it's going to be pretty tough to make things work. You're basically spending all of your, like, the cap bump in Matthews and Nylander's new contracts. But, I mean, it is what it is. And it's better than watch them walk away. And then the year after that, you get to sign John Tavares for hopefully less money. And then we kind of get some relief here. So hopefully JT can keep up the numbers he's doing so that we can actually feel like he's a $10 million player playing for, you know, whatever it ends up being, 5 or 6 or 7, whatever. But yeah, next year, the salary cap's going to be still tough for the Leafs, even though the cap's going up.
Yeah. And I mean, with this, it was reported earlier that he was going to get $11.25 million, right? And
yes.
at $11.25 million at 8 years is $90 million. So for another team, any other team besides the Toronto Maple Leafs, to give him $90 million in the end of the day, they are only allowed to sign him to 7-year contract. So that would be $12.85 million. So even if you think in your wildest dreams, maybe some stupid team might, they might do something stupid like that. Now it's up to $13.14 million. Another team would have to pay him each year to outpay the Leafs contract. So I think at the end of the day, at that point, other teams are going to say, I don't think so. I think that might be too rich for a lot of other teams' blood. And that extra half or $250K per season for the Leafs to be eating is going to almost, you know, that's probably what pushed them over the edge, because it almost guarantees that another team's probably, the chances are lower that he's going to get over 13 million. Like, let's be honest. I don't think any winger is going to get 13 million this year. Maybe in a couple years, but not this year. Let them get comfortable with their cap space first.
I think that they would. I think he'd get multiple offers. Like, would he want those
over
offers?
13 mil?
Yeah. Would he want those offers? Like, Anaheim just looks awful. San Jose, like, we've just played 2 really bad teams that need a star player. Like, they would do it. The Islanders, like, in need of star players, they'd do it. There's teams out there. Like, does he want to go play for Lou Lamoriello or play
Can
for
you imagine?
some of the worst teams? Like, no, there's not a chance. So is there a good team out there, I think, that would give him that? No. But I think like it would be. I don't know. Like I don't know if it matters though, because like
He wouldn't go.
as much as Willie like seems like this like nonchalant guy, I think he's getting used to the idea of like improving this team, and it seems like he's like definitely improving himself year after year. So yeah, I don't think he would want to go to those places.
Yeah, no, I guess that's a fair assessment of him not maybe wanting to go.
Yeah, maybe
But
not.
I guess
though.
if the money called, I just can't see another team paying.
There's a lot of
William
bad
Nylander
GMs out there.
Yeah, or $13 million on free agency day for a right winger, like just strictly right winger. For us, he as a center, I could see it. Center producing like Nylander does, absolutely. I could see 13 mil, but I mean, like I would have said yes about Austin Matthews, but he's not making Austin Matthews money, buddy. It's just not happening.
But like Brad Treliving was willing to give Johnny Gaudreau over 12. So like their offers out there have been high for wingers, and like William Nylander is so much better than Johnny Gaudreau is. So not that would have been a good contract and a comparable at this point. I don't think you can't compare it. Johnny Gaudreau has an awful contract, even though it's lower than that. So, but like GMs are willing to pay a lot of money for star players, especially when they're lacking it. So. Yeah, I think someone would, but I like the thing is with Willie's contract now, it's like we started at the beginning of the year of arguing if it was over 10 or not, and just like day by day it just gets higher and higher and higher. So like just, like I can't wait till Monday and just get it done with. It can be over, and then we can move on and talk about other things, because it's just getting out of hand. Like by end of season he'll be a like Matthews type of a contract if we're at this rate.
I called it like a month and a half ago it was going to be $11.5 million.
Oh yeah.
I straight up called it. Like I knew it was going to be. That's just where it's going to end up at 11.5. He's going to make pasta money, and that's just the end of the day. That's how it's going to be. I think he's worth it. I don't think it's a bad contract to sign at 11.5. I think it's a best move to move forward. So I think the turning point tonight absolutely was Calle Yarncroke.
Yeah.
I think that goal, the Sharks were just starting to buzz. They might have made it a game, but when it became 3-0, I think that was kind of where it went.
Right.
When he scored on that goal and the squeaker went through, Mackenzie Blackwood, he has had his ups and downs this year as a goalie.
Yeah.
As a fantasy watcher, I've watched him a few times, and he's looked good, and then he's looked really bad, and it's like almost scary to take a risk on him. Producer Ted, didn't you have him for a bit on your fantasy team?
No. I never picked up Blackwood because there was that one game early on. I think they lost like 10-0 or something, and him and the other. I think he took on 6 goals, and the other guy let in 4 or something. Either way, it was a name I kind of stayed away from in fantasy. But then I saw him have some good nights though, because I was watching him too, because I wanted to see how that turned out, if he could kind of pull that back. And he for the time being, he's San Jose's guy, right? I don't think anyone else is really testing that job from him. But that's the thing. Like I watched our backup goalie and Prosvetov have a really rough night tonight, and Georgie go in and not be able to do much better. So sometimes it happens, man. As you've said many times before, Webby, goalies are voodoo. They have ups and downs, and you can't really fault them on those 10-0 games. Like that's a team loss for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Blackwood, like he's just fallen. Like he used to be the future in New Jersey, like their star young player. He was supposed to be like a young up and coming Canadian goalie, but yeah, it's just he's fallen off and hasn't really been able to put it together here. It's hard to when you go from playing for New Jersey where you couldn't put it together and you're supposed to for San Jose. It's just, the worst team by far in the NHL. So
That's not a great place to be a goaltender right now.
No, hard to figure it out when you're there. I know it's a lot of shots on net, so I guess percentage-wise, I guess you get figured out quicker, but, you're not winning many games, feeling good about yourself. But Yarncroke, though.
Yeah, how about that Calle Yarncroke scoring his 10th of the year? So that's 9 of the last 10 seasons. He's scored at least 10 goals, and he's on pace for 20 again.
Nice.
What a signing. I hated that guy at the beginning, and I am pleasantly surprised. I am like that Shaq, the Shaq meme or whatever. Obviously it was him saying in the show, but I wasn't familiar with your game. I apologize. Calle Yarncroke. God damn, that guy's been good. Scoring again tonight, and that squeaker, I mean, I wonder how many goalies in the NHL would have stopped that. Probably a lot, but kudos to Calle Yarncroke for putting it in, getting his 10th of the year. I mean, I can see this guy if he can be what he is for the next 4 years or the next 3 years. He was a 4-year contract. I can see us all at the end loving Calle Yarncroke as who he was as a player. You know, at the beginning, for what the expectations were for the $2.1 million a year, I think we're going to be very sad when Calle Yarncroke is gone. I don't think he gets enough love.
Yeah, I mean, and he's doing. It's funny because he's been a better player than he has in his career for the Leafs. Like he's never scored 20 goals before, and he's on pace to do it for a second time now as a Leaf. And he's doing it now as a third liner. It's like a great commodity to have as a 20 goal scorer on your third line. I mean, and he has a good playmaker in Domi to kind of facilitate that. And yeah, I think that he is kind of a, no one ever talks about him really. Like on like almost every radio show, it's like, unless he scores.
That's it.
Yeah. So 10 times so far, it's been brought up on probably mainstream TV about Calle Yarncroke, but he deserves a bit more because he also serves as this like low key, like can do anything guy. And he's just sitting there on the wing, just waiting to step in. Like anyone gets hurt. And like, he's the like Swiss Army knife, the Flex Seal of this team. Like, Alex Kerfoot used to be. So just like great guy to have on the lineup for sure, and still doing it. I love him there. I think he's locked in that spot. No one's ever questioning the right wing on the third line.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point you make about him coming to the Leafs and being better than he has been in other places, because you see it, and you guys know this, the other way a lot for the Leafs. Guys who are great, like 30, 40 goal scorers come to the Leafs and completely drop off. I've seen that. Yes. Nice to
How
see
dare
it the
you
other way.
compare him to
give
Flex Seal Alex Kerfoot? Holy shit.
I mean, he's an upgrade. He's a Flex Seal upgrade. He makes less and he's better. You know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. How would you, like, God, I held that in for so long. I'm sorry, Ted. It's like word vomit. Flex Seal? No, he's not that guy. He's so much better than Alex Kerfoot ever could hope to be as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Alex Kerfoot's doing great this year as a Coyote. Good for him. Stay a Coyote. Like, do your thing, man. Maybe he likes wearing flip-flops. Like, I don't know. Whatever. Do your thing. Like,
he moved there so he doesn't have to wear shoes.
Yeah. Flip-flops for life.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, whatever. No, Calle Yarncroke is way better, and good for Calle Yarncroke. So, Martin Jones on this California road trip. 3 wins, 2 goals allowed. How about Martin Jones? I asked this question before, and I'm going to ask it again. After this road trip, do you feel better, worse, or the same about our goaltending situation?
I feel more relaxed about it. I think it's just a waiting game kind of till Joseph Woll can come back. And until that point, I think we're just a little bit in survival mode because unless you don't think that Joseph Woll is good enough to be a starter, then maybe we can like go back to the goalie talks. But at this point, I think he's shown enough that I think we're willing to give him a shot. And so, yeah, I think at this point, I would say that we're going to wait to see what they do with Samsonov. I'm assuming he's coming back and he's going to play a game, and his whole future lies on one game. That's kind of my thought.
I doubt it's like that.
I think
it's going to be another hurting time. Yeah, you think it's all going to rely on one game? That would be very silly.
I mean, I think if it goes one way or the other, greatly or badly, yes. If it's just like a whatever game, it doesn't make or break. But yeah.
Right, yeah. I'm assuming that we're going to see the Samsonov that we've seen in the past 10 games that he's played, which is just awful. If he comes back and he's average, then yeah, I think he does survive to live another day, because you only need your backup every so often, and at some point he'll just be the third goalie. So, yeah.
So all you're saying is he just can't be bad.
He just can't be bad. Yeah, he can be average.
So if he comes up, and even if he comes up and posts a shutout in his first start, I still don't think he's safe.
No,
I think he's going to have to do some consistency. Yeah, he's going to have to do this often. And I still think they're going to be in a conundrum when Joseph Wool comes back here in 5 weeks or however long it is now. I think somebody's got to go. And like, are you going to risk Jones again when he's been phenomenal for you? Stanley Cup pedigree, perfect guy to sit on the bench. Like, I don't know, man. I
you mean
think that
send him
might be
down?
the guy you'd want. You can't, yeah, like, can we still send him down? I was looking at that the other day. No, you can't. This was his game. This was the last game you're allowed to play. Or last game was the last game he was allowed to play before he has to go back on waivers. So
that's totally fine. He's never going on waivers until someone else comes along, because you just pass Samsonov back through. Like, hopefully he like gets a few shutouts and you pass him back through waivers and someone takes him. And then you get the cap relief, because like he's not the backup anymore. He's the third goalie, and he makes way too much money to be the third goalie. So, I mean, I've lost total faith in Samsonov, if you can't tell. He's just like, he's the third or fourth goalie probably, because I'd rather try it with Hildeby than go with him. So yeah, he's the fourth or fifth. I don't know. Get him out of here. Sorry.
yeah, Hildeby not getting a shot at all, eh?
Yeah, that's rough.
Just a little bit of NHL pay, sit in the game. Kind of sucks for Hildeby. I thought he might get
Yeah.
one of these games. Do you expect that he might still get a start on Monday here or Tuesday?
I guess it's possible. I guess, yeah, no one was really talking about it. We were all just talking about these 3 games. No one ever thought about the 4th game. Like, he might still be here. So I really hope so. I'm sure he hasn't minded getting the biggest paychecks he's ever gotten in his life. But at the same time, he's at a really important part in his career to make the step to the NHL, and to just get here and sit on the bench just doesn't seem useful for the progress of that. So that's just the only thing that feels weird about it. Is like, he brought up like this like prospect. There's other prospects he could have brought up to sit on the bench if that was the only thing, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why they wouldn't have let him play, like you said, hindering his development. I get the paycheck thing, but like, he's got to go back.
Yeah, the
Right?
paycheck
Like,
isn't.
he's got to
everything.
go back now, and now he's gotten 3 games of a paycheck. That's awesome, great, good for you. Go play now because you were on a roll. Go back and do that because we need a guy, right? Samsonov's clearly not a guy, and it'd be nice to be able to run a tandem of cheap Wool, cheap Hildeby next year if we could rely on that, or even sign another Martin Jones or Martin Jones himself and run with those 3 as your 3. I think that would be a lot nicer to see rather than having Hildeby sit on the bench for another week. So he either plays in Toronto on Tuesday for the Leafs, or he goes back with the Marlies and plays their next game. That's my opinion of what should happen with Dennis Hildeby.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Alternative, what do you guys think about like the 3 goalie system, like that some teams are kind of running and had been looking at throughout the year?
Hate it.
I know, me too.
Yeah. It's just like, just one goal is just not doing anything. There's only 2 nets at practice. That's the problem. If this was a 3-way game at all times, then yeah. But someone always has to be standing to the side. Or at least like 2 guys are just doing 50% and one guy gets 100% of the net. But
It's hard to get someone hot, I think, in that situation.
yeah, especially when one can go through waivers and go play for your AHL team. So if the problem, it's when you have no guy that can pass through and you can't decide who your 3 are. That's the issue. But we have one that can go through, and Samsonov, who we don't care if he does go through it. So I don't think we're going to be in that problem. Yeah.
No, and I've seen teams who are doing that too. I read a thing the other day that said teams with 3 goalies on their roster can make their 3rd goalie their e-bug, technically.
Right. Yeah,
So
I read that too.
even if the other 2 guys do get injured, you actually do have a goalie you'd probably choose to have there rather than the
which
guy
makes
eating
sense.
spicy pork in the stands or
I have a question about that though. Does that
Zamboni
mean
driver.
he's the e-bug for the other team too?
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that, but I don't think so. I think it's like
No.
it's
So there's 2
yours.
e-bugs in
Because yeah, but normally there only is like the one, because that was the thing with
Yeah. So it's the
Zamboni
replacement
driver,
for
right? He's like, he could have
your
been on
own
either.
team, but not. He doesn't have to go
all
play
over
for
that.
your opponent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, the Zamboni driver. Yes, the Zamboni driver.
Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
we got beat by our own Zamboni driver. Actually, it
wasn't
wasn't even
gonna bring
our
it up,
Zamboni driver. It's the Marley Zamboni driver at that. He just like
Yeah.
worked in the organization as an e-bug and a practice goalie and a Zamboni driver and whatever else he could do to make up hours, I guess. I don't know. David Ayers. Yeah, that's
wrote a
great.
book.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring that up.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Ted. Appreciate that. So, you got anything else there, CP?
Holmberg looked better tonight. Um,
Yeah.
I thought that the third line looked obviously Yarncroke was scoring, so that was good. But I thought Holmberg was doing a lot more. There was last game was a whole lot of nothing from him. But tonight I felt like he was actually doing things. Flipped a couple pucks towards the net, getting in there a bit. He was also playing center a little bit. So I think that may help him. He's always played center. I'm not sure he's so used to playing on the left wing. So I saw in the defensive zone, he was actually the guy playing in front of the net. Domi's down, or up playing with the defenseman. So that might have helped him in the long run there.
Yeah, I did notice that third line was buzzing, and I was actually going to write that down right as Yarncroke scored his goal. They were working hard. They had a few good shifts, and by that time I noticed, wow, the third line really seems to be clicking with Holmberg. So what does that mean for Nick Robertson?
I mean, I don't think he's playing next game is what I think. I don't think that that's forever. Holmberg hasn't been so great that he's not getting back in the lineup, but I'd say for another game, they're probably going to go with Holmberg again. Also he's way more defensively responsible. Regardless if he's playing on left wing or center, he doesn't do he's not making the flashy plays like Robertson sometimes does, and that's when he makes a turnover. So I think Keith's probably going to like that. I tend to like that more. I normally make the decisions for this team, so I think that Holmberg will be the guy that I keep in there next game.
I think the thing we're going to have to watch for Holmberg is what happened last year is when he started to play too much, he started to take a lot of penalties. And that's going to be really what we're going to have to watch for in Holmberg's game if he wants to keep in the lineup. If that reverts back to him getting penalties like he did last year, then I can certainly see Nick Robertson getting another shot. But right now they have the cap space to keep as many guys around as they can. So they do have the option. They are afforded extras right now. Nick Robertson's an extra and just hanging around. But I wonder if Holmberg continues to impress and continues to perform as he gets sent back down to the Marlies.
Yeah, I would say that probably wouldn't be long. If he's just sitting on the bench, I think you do send him back down. You want as little people sitting as possible always, right? So I think the only guys you don't care about is when it's like Ryan Reeves. But if it's the younger guys, if you can, that's the benefit of having Toronto Marlies being so close. They can just, drive to walk across the hall and you're at the different practice facility.
Can we talk about Ryan Reeves for a second here before we go? I read an article the other day, or just a blip from an article. Actually, I didn't read the article, just a blip on a tweet. And it said Ryan Reeves can pop his kneecap in and out.
Oh,
and
I saw that too,
when he was asked about that, he said, yeah, that's happened a few times before. What a champ. Runs into the boards a couple times. Yeah, then my kneecap goes out and he just takes it, moves the thing over. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's disgusting. Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't surprised when I read that either. Yeah, I guess it's something he does. My kneecaps kind of float around a little bit, but they don't pop over to the side. I'm assuming he means, rough.
Brutal. I hope he gets better. You'd like to see him back and at least an option, not hurt.
Apparently
even if he's not playing a whole bunch of time, I'd still like to see him be an option just for some games, right? New look every now and again.
I think that's coming up. I forget what I read, but I read something about him that either he's able to soon or there's something about that. So I think we might hear soon in one of the media scrums, Keith talk about him soon. Yeah.
All right. So you got any more points here, CP?
No, not really. Just Gio broke up a breakaway attempt, close breakaway. Looks like he's got some decent foot speed. The guy kind of had a jump on him, and he still beat him back. So it was good to see that. The defense has been, obviously, and there hasn't been many goals going in, so they've looked pretty good. But I'm just glad that every time I watch Gio, I always imagine that he's got to slow down sometime, and just it wasn't today. So yeah, looking good, Gio.
One thing that was pointed out, I think it was on the broadcast or maybe by the panel, but the Leafs defense, I think it was Kevin BX actually. That guy makes some really good points. He sometimes, I'm not his biggest fan, but he makes a lot of good points too.
I like BX,
yeah. But tonight he said that a lot of the guys in Toronto right now are just playing defense. They're just they're not jumping up in the play. They're not trying to be too offensive. They're just letting the big guns score the goals. They're playing defense, and you have guys when you have we didn't think obviously Timmy Liljegren isn't a world-beating defenseman, but he's a steady NHL defender. And Mark Giordano is a dinosaur, and he sat next to Jesus in 3rd grade. But he is still a reliable NHL defenseman. Like, he's good. He's doing his job out there. You can't say that he's not. So having these guys back and then having guys who were performing well, not Timmins, who we haven't seen in a little while, playing on the 3rd pair, the team doesn't look bad. It's like you have guys playing all over the place that can defend and that can move the puck, but aren't jumping up in the rush. Nobody's getting too aggressive unless your name is Morgan Riley. And I think that's part of why this team has been successful in the last week, is maybe it's just the return of Gio and his voice and telling everybody, like, play defense. Play defense, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. The only thing that we've had some easy competition, and I'm excited to now take like this momentum, and like we play the Islanders and then Colorado coming up. So, those are tougher teams. So we'll see how those go and see how the defense looks when it's like, McKinnon coming down. What's Gio going to do if that happens? So we'll see at that point.
Yeah, we got a big game coming up. I believe it's the 16th against the Colorado Avalanche. That will be this show's biggest game of its existence. We've never had one of those, and we are super excited for that.
Yeah.
Before we have that, like you said, we have the Islanders, but we head back home to play the Sharks to complete the cross-continent a home series that these two teams are literally from California all the way to Toronto, Ontario, all the way across from the northeast to the southwest. They're going to complete the home series on Tuesday at 7 p.m., and we will be back following that game. Thank you for watching. That's a wrap. We are Split the Defense. This is a Leafs post game. Please make sure to like this podcast on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Subscribe on YouTube. Rate us 5 stars anywhere else. Find us on X at STDP Hockey and search for Split the Defense everywhere else. See you next time. Call your parents, Big Shot.
Peace.
You've been listening to
Split the Defense.
Leafs Post-Game Edition. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans.
Split the Defense
Is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.